The Bold Ones. Burl Ives. Joseph Campanella. James Farentino. Lawyers defending justice in the nation's courtrooms. Leslie Nielsen. Harry Rhodes, public servants enforcing the laws of a challenging society. E.G. Marshall. John Saxon. David Hartman, doctors expanding the horizons of the new medicine. The Bold Ones.
Mr. Rockford? This is Mr. Nichols. Been appointed by the court to represent you. At his request. Mr. Rockford.
Just leave us alone. Henry? You actually don't remember me. Walter Nichols. Nichols, Darrow and Darrow.
Nichols. Oh, yeah. The attorney, huh? I give you a real hard time tonight, huh?
You have any idea of how much trouble you're in?
I killed a creeping crud. Snuck a bottle out of my hand while I was sleeping. I hit him with a brick. I clobbered him.
Did you know what you were doing?
I'd do it again. Hey, well, what are you doing here?
Well, I've asked the court for permission to represent you.
You represent me? I don't get it.
You will. There's a hook in it. I'm representing you on one condition, that you tell me the answer.
Well, I told you I hit him with a brick.
I know what happened this time. I'm talking about the last time. Do you remember the last time?
You still don't know, huh? Well, what do you care?
Where justice is concerned, I have a deep and abiding curiosity.
Well, that abiding curiosity of yours gives me the edge. That makes it my deal. You see, I know what kind of trouble I'm in. I killed that bum, murdered him. There's no mistake, there's no accident, no sir. And I did it in front of 7 witnesses. So, you get me out of it. You get me off. Counselor. And then you get the answer.
I can't guarantee.
Well, it is what is known as tough. I've kept my mouth shut all these years, and I keep it shut all the way to the gas chamber. So this is the way it is. You get me off, and you get the answer, or I'm gonna die with it.
All right. You got yourself an attorney. We'll make a start in the morning. I need some fresh air. We're through for now. I don't want anyone giving him a shave or a haircut.
Operator, I want the police. What? I'm not sure I know. Homicide, I suppose. I want to report a murder. Yes, thank you. Hello? Would you please send someone to 1797 North Switzer? A woman has been killed. Yes, I'm sure. I killed her.
What did you use?
That candlestick.
What's your name?
My name is Mrs. Rockford. Mrs. Henry Rockford.
What else did you tell him?
Not very much. Only that I killed her. I shouldn't have, I suppose. Told them, I mean.
You said you shouldn't have told them, not that you shouldn't have done it. You feel you were justified?
Oh, no. Never.
This woman's been your husband's mistress for, you said, 3 years. And all of a sudden you had to talk to her. Now, why?
Well, I didn't even know she existed until the night before. I felt compelled to talk to her. I wanted to see what it was in her that would make my husband leave me. He wanted to break it off, but she wouldn't let him go. She said she would make all kinds of trouble.
What kind of trouble?
Well, for a start, she was going to tell me, but he already told me.
Everything?
Yes, and I forgave him.
You forgave him everything?
No.
Where is he now, your husband?
I don't know. They're trying to locate him. He left town and he didn't tell me where he went. He said he had to get away to think.
About Carol Peterson?
What to do about her.
Even though you'd forgiven him?
But she still could have hurt him. He's manager of the West Valley branch of Clifton Savings and Loan, and that's a very sensitive job.
You had no intention of doing what you did? That wasn't what you had in mind when you went to Carol Peterson's house?
Oh, no. I went there to talk.
Who are you, Mrs. Rockford, telling me to let go? You let go. Get out of his life and begin by getting out of my house, where he really lives his life.
I'll get out when you promise me that.
I'll promise you nothing. Where is he anyway? Where's he hiding? If there's any deciding to do, who splits up with who, let him do the choosing. I made him feel like a man for 3 years. And he gets with you for one night and he's a mouse again.
How little he must have thought of himself. To spend 3 years with you. I don't know if I hit her because she was hitting me or if She'd already stopped and I hit her anyway. I didn't even know I had a candlestick in my hand or what it was until I looked down and there she was. Then I called the police.
And told them you did it?
Yes. Well, I did do it, and they could prove it. I was there. My fingerprints were there. All over the place. All over the murder weapon, I suppose you'd call it. So what difference could it make?
Probably none in view of the evidence. But with the mitigating circumstances, several avenues of defense are open.
None of which will be unexplored. Let us lawyer-type fellows chew on this a while, Mrs. Rockford. Get yourself some rest. And you can rest easy, too. The state may have the facts, all the hard, cool facts, but we've got that warm, wonderful sympathy.
That little brunette, she couldn't hurt a fly.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one had it coming. Take my word.
You registered for jury duty?
Me? I got no time for that. I'm a busy man.
Well, that's a crime against justice. A fellow with your instant understanding of the human face has a moral obligation to judge his fellow man. Yes, sir, if I could always have a jury with your wisdom, I'd double my fee.
Oh, no jury will ever convict her. Take my word. Want more off the back?
No, but if you got some of that sweet smelling, wait your turn.
Just passing through the reception office and thought you'd want to know. Man out there says our client didn't kill Carol Peterson, and he can prove it.
Get him in here. See you Friday.
Walter Nichols, Henry Rockford.
That's right, I'm your client's husband.
Sit down, Mr. Rockford.
My wife did not kill Carol Peterson. And the reason I know she didn't is because I killed her.
Mr. Rockford, before you run too far with that, be advised that the police and the district attorney's office have built up a case against your wife on solid evidence. Your wife wasn't weaving a fantasy when she put in her prior claim to this murder. She was there when the police arrived. Her fingerprints were everywhere, especially on the murder weapon. Yours weren't. Now, we appreciate what you're attempting to do.
Oh, now, damn it, I'm not making a gesture. I'm not lying to protect my wife. Don't you see it's the other way around? She's lying.
Well, why didn't you come forward sooner?
I didn't know what she'd done. I just picked up a paper. I just got back into town.
Where have you been?
Up in the mountains, a place called Rim of the World, near Lake Arrowhead. I went up there last Friday night. I took a cabin, went up there to think, to try to make a decision.
Decided what? To kill your mistress?
No, I never intended to do that. I couldn't think, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't sort things out. I knew I had to call Carol. Couldn't get out of that. I had to do that. Operator, I want to make a call to Los Angeles.
Rocky?
Suzanne called me Henry. Carol called me Rocky. I might give you some idea.
Where are you? Why aren't you here? I want you right here and right now.
Carol, why do you have to always make things so difficult?
Rocky, baby, I'm not difficult. I'm easy. Always have been. I made it easy for you. So easy. And I'm gonna make it easy for you now.
Easy? What do you mean easy?
A way out, baby. I'm giving you that.
You're not gonna do something crazy, are you?
No. Something smart. Something logical. Simple arithmetic. 3 minus 1 leaves 2.
All right, now listen to me, Carol. I'll get there as soon as I can. But I'm up in the mountains. I'm near Lake Arrowhead.
That'll be nearly midnight. Why not forget it? Stay up there on your mountaintop. Chances are you'll never make it anyway. Listen to this. Know what this is? It's pills.
Carol, stop it.
So, if you're not here by 12 o'clock, darling.
Yeah, I didn't think she'd do it. I didn't really think anybody'd ever kill themselves over me, but I had to think, what if she does? And now, I wish she had.
Disappointed.
I should have known better than to feel sorry for you.
You are so right. You're the one to feel sorry for. You're the one with everything to lose, not me.
That's right. For 3 years, I've been willing to risk it, even to lose it. And for what? For nothing.
You're about to find out how expensive nothing can be.
Just send me the bill.
I'll make you wish you'd never been born.
You know, there's nothing you can do to hurt me now. Suzanne already knows. She even understands, which is more than I do. Goodbye, Carol.
Oh, Rocky, damn you!
I hit her. I don't know how it happened, but I hit her. Carol? Carol?
When you left, you wiped your fingerprints off the candlestick, and there were no signs of a struggle?
There'd been no struggle. I just grabbed for the candlestick. There was one wild lunge, and it was over.
And you think your wife just walked in on that and decided to confess?
Well, that's true. That's what she's done. Suzanne, how is she? Is she all right?
Bearing up remarkably well, considering the burdens she's assumed, according to you.
My first impulse, when I read about it, was to go straight to the police and tell them the story. And then I thought, why the police? My wife has the finest legal minds on her side. They'd know better than I would how to tell the truth. I mean, to present it. So here I am.
With another confession.
With the truth. Friday night, she must have decided to go over there. Been just about to go in when I got there. She might have seen me go in. Maybe she only arrived in time to see me leave. Anyhow, one way or the other, she knew I'd been there just before she arrived. And when she walked in, she saw what I'd done. Now, I know it's hard to imagine why she did it, but it isn't hard to imagine what she did.
Operator, I want the police.
That's the kind of thing she'd do, and that's undoubtedly what she did. I don't understand her. I don't deserve a love like that.
Woman doesn't give her love according to how much a man deserves it, which is very lucky for most of us.
After you left Carol Peterson's bungalow, where did you go?
Back to the cabin in the mountains.
To set up an alibi.
I'll admit that. I was pretty sure that no one had seen me leave the cabin, that no one had seen me drive into L.A. or back again. If Suzanne weren't involved, I would have told my lie. I would have done anything I could to avoid connecting me with the killing.
We have to tell you something, Mr. Rockford. We've heard your wife's story, we've heard your story. Now, your wife's version will probably cost her no more than 4 years in jail. Probably less. She might even get off entirely. Your version could send you to the gas chamber.
But I told you it was an accident.
No jury will believe that.
Are you saying that they would believe Suzanne? She's not even telling the truth.
Mr. Rockford, no jury in the world could be anything but sympathetic to your wife, and no jury in the world could be anything but hostile to you. You were having an affair with this woman for 3 years. Now, just for openers, every jury is going to hate you, especially when they get a look at your wife. Now, your mistress becomes a nuisance. She threatens trouble. You want to get rid of her. So you take a cabin in the mountains to set up an alibi, says the prosecution. You drive back to L.A. that same night, and you kill her. Oh, believe me, Mr. Rockford, the chances are excellent that you'd be convicted of first-degree murder. Absolutely premeditated, within the framework of an immoral relationship for obvious motives of self-interest. And oh, yes, Mr. Rockford, you would very, very probably receive the death penalty.
What's he saying, that I shouldn't tell the truth? That I should let Suzanne take the blame for something that I did?
He's saying that if you're consulting us as attorneys, we're obligated to tell you that you aren't required to testify against yourself. And we certainly can't recommend you make any such confession as the one you just made.
Gentlemen, I intend to go on record and state exactly what I've stated here. Now, I'll either do it through you or I'll do it through the district attorney's office. I'm not going to let my wife take even a small part of the blame for something that is entirely my guilt.
You do solemnly affirm that the testimony you give in this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. This you do under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Be seated.
Now, Mr. Rockford, did you come to my office on the morning of September the 11th and relate to me and to Mr. Brian Darrell an eyewitness account of the murder of Carol Peterson?
I did.
Then you were present in Carol Peterson's home at the time of the murder?
I was.
Who else was there at that time?
No one. Only myself and Miss Peterson.
Just you and Miss Peterson?
That's right.
Did you kill Carol Peterson?
I did.
People have proved fact after fact, exhibit after exhibit, with direct and expert testimony, fingerprints and photographs, and fact upon fact, and again fact after that Suzanne Rockford did indeed strike that savage blow which brought sudden death to Carol Peterson. It was the hand of Suzanne Rockford which struck her down, which gripped that candlestick when it became the instrument of murder. It was the strength of her arm which brought it smashing down to end the life of her rival. It was her will, her brain, her mind, which put that hand and that arm into motion to kill. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, to kill her husband's mistress. Now, in the case of the people versus Suzanne Rockford, the people have proved all that. Proved it beyond any reasonable doubt. And what about the defense? What has the defense proved? The defense has proved one point only, that chivalry is not dead. We have been treated, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have been treated to a display of gallantry and sentiment straight out of some Victorian novel. The injured wife is being tried for murder. The erring but penitent husband rushes to her side to take the blame, to confess the crime, to bear the guilt, to endure the punishment, and thus, by noble sacrifice, balances the scales for the wrongs he has done her. Purification through self-sacrifice. A familiar Victorian theme. And to Walter Nichols, our distinguished and venerable counsel for the defense, our thanks for this nostalgic reminder of less complicated days. Regrettably, lace valentines have no place in the business at hand. Neither the defense nor the state has been able to produce one shred of evidence to substantiate one word of her husband's so-called confession. Not one witness who saw him leave the cabin on the mountain that night or return to it. Not one witness who saw him on his way to Los Angeles or on his way back. Even the gas station attendant, where he claims he stopped for gas, doesn't remember him. Now, for the very good reason. He was never there. A telephone call was made from the cabin that night to Carol Peterson's number. But that single piece of corroborating evidence, ladies and gentlemen, only serves to prove our case. It places him at the rim of the world. And nothing places him at the scene of the crime, where his wife was discovered by the police in answer to her summons and her message. I killed her. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a husband's testimony for or against his wife in a case like this must be considered suspect, in the very least. And that, too, is a fact in a case built entirely upon facts.
Ladies and gentlemen, now, I don't want to be one of those fellows who says, my mind's made up, don't confuse me with any facts. But I do believe that the district attorney here has been doing some fancy confusing with facts, especially when every fact that he's confused us with was planted for the very purpose of confusing. For instance, now, what kind of a fact is this? Suzanne Rockford left her fingerprints on the murder weapon. That's a fact, sure enough. But it's also a fact she left them there for a reason, to confuse the real fact and to take the blame for something her husband has now admitted that he did. I wonder why the district attorney, Mr. Braddock here, is so all-fired set on pinning this crime on Suzanne Rockford, even when her husband has told us for a fact that he did it. Why? Because all of those facts that he's been crowing about, all the facts that the DA's office has built its case around, are false, if we believe Henry Rockford. And that makes the DA's office look just a little bit careless. All they've got on Henry is the fact that he did it. But like Mr. Braddock said, they can't prove that with facts. They have to take his word. Now, their facts can prove that Mrs. Rockford did it, because she was kind enough to supply them with all the facts they needed to prove just that. You know, it's all such nonsense to say that in this case, the husband's testimony must be considered suspect, because Henry Rockford hasn't testified for or against his wife. He just simply told us one terrible truth, that he, and he alone, killed Carol Peterson. Now, if you can convict his wife after hearing that, let me remind you of this. The state hasn't asked for the death penalty for Mrs. Rockford. So the risk to her is slight compared to the risk Henry Rockford took, if we believe him. Because when she's acquitted, sure as shooting, he'll be arrested, charged with murder in the first degree. And everything that you heard him say on that witness stand can be used against him. I think the saddest, truest, and most important fact of all of this is that You just don't tell a story like that unless it happens to be the truth. Because, ladies and gentlemen, he could die for it.
They've been out almost 5 hours. That is not good.
Forget it.
Yes, I know. She'll never be convicted. Your barber told you.
Please pass the verdict to the clerk.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Suzanne Rockford, not guilty.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you for your verdict. You're excused. This court is adjourned.
Oh, Henry, what's going to happen to you?
Henry Rockford, it's my duty to inform you that you're under arrest on a charge of murder in the first degree. You have a right to speak to an attorney, and that attorney can be present during questionings.
I can say something without the advice of attorney. I mean, I do have that privilege, don't I?
You have that privilege, yes.
Good. Because I do have something to say, and I think it's terribly important that I say it right here and now. Mr. Braddock?
Yes?
I think it's important that you hear this. You see, sir, you can charge me with that murder if you want to. But I'm telling you right here that I intend to take the stand in my own defense, and that I will repudiate everything I said at this trial.
Don't give me that disbarment look, Mr. Braddock. I'm as shocked as you are at this.
And we don't represent him.
That's right. The whole thing was my idea, all of it. I will deny the entire testimony. It was all a lie, every word of it, not one word of truth. I believe in my wife's innocence. I was afraid that she might be convicted by her own actions if I hadn't lied. Now she's out of danger. You can't try her twice on the same charge. And as for me, you said yourself, Mr. Braddock, in your summation that you had no evidence to connect me with the crime, and without my testimony, which I now admit was false, you can prove nothing against me.
Mr. Rockford, you are under arrest on the charge of murder. Now, if under oath you deny your prior testimony, then you may get off of the murder charge. But then you will be charged for perjury. And if you think that the penalty for perjury is a slap on the wrists, well, then you are in for the shock of your life. Now, book him.
Okay, listen. One side, please. Would you make room? Step aside, please.
Make room for the lady, please.
One side.
Have some room, please. Have some room, please.
These scenes were taken less than 3 months ago, just after Suzanne Rockford was acquitted on a charge of murder. The not guilty verdict was returned by the jury largely because of the confession made by her husband, Henry Rockford. The confession he immediately repudiated just moments after his wife was acquitted. Henry Rockford, who was arrested immediately after his wife's trial, was acquitted today of the murder of his mistress, but was convicted on the charge of perjury and sentenced to 1 to 14 years in the state penitentiary at San Quentin. Near the campus of the University of Southern California.
1 to 14. With good behavior, could be out in 3.
Think she'll be waiting for him? Think she appreciates what he did?
Appreciates? My friend, here's the position that little lady is in now. Because he made that confession, then denied it the minute she was free, that verdict will always be in question. No, I doubt if she appreciates it. Wherever she goes, there'll be those who will think that she got away with murder.
Not me. She only tried to take the blame because she loved him. And after you heard about that, he had to take the blame.
Because he loved her.
Mm-hmm. Right. And with that kind of love, I say she will be waiting for him when he gets out of prison.
Suzanne, where the devil have you been? It's been over 2 months. You haven't even answered my letters. I've been going out of my mind.
I'm sorry. Henry, I know it hasn't been very easy for you in the last 2 years. But it hasn't been easy for me either.
No, I'll make it up to you. I promise.
Henry, listen, please. You know I've been working. And I guess I worked too hard. At least the doctor said so.
Poor baby.
Well, the fact is that 7 weeks ago, I actually physically collapsed.
Oh, no.
And I was told then that if I didn't take it easy and go away and take care of myself, the doctor wouldn't answer for the consequences.
I knew when I didn't hear from you that something must be wrong. But you're all right now. You look
I went to
fine.
Coronado.
Oh.
Henry, I spent many nights thinking about the things I could say to you, the lies I was going to tell that could help. But I realized that there was no lie I could say that would help or make it easier, because you would know the truth. That's the way it would be. You would know as soon as you looked at me. You'd see it in my face. When I went to Coronado, I met a man.
Well, a few weeks in Coronado.
I've fallen deeply in love with him. There's nothing I can do about it. I've fallen as deeply in love with him as I was once in love with you.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the beginning of the end for Henry Rockford. This woman, this wife he loved so well and for whom he sacrificed so much, this woman found herself unable to bear the burden of his imprisonment or the implications of his sacrifice. We can sympathize with Suzanne Rockford. It wasn't her fault that he loved her so much, or that she fell out of love with him. No two qualities can ever be exactly equal. And if Henry Rockford were still capable of choosing, I think he'd choose again to be the one whose love was the greater. But there he sits. And you can see that he's not a man capable of choosing or deciding or understanding what's become of him or even what's happening to him here. After he lost his wife, he spent another year in that prison. But that last year was like 100 years, without even the hope of going back to the woman he loved. When at last he was released, he couldn't get his old job back, or any job remotely like it. Finally, no job at all. Former friends turned their back on him, this self-confessed liar, forgetting how unselfish his lies had been. And Henry Rockford took a drink to build up his courage. Then another, and then 100 more, until finally his courage was drowned in alcohol. And he became this tragic figure you see sitting here in this courtroom today. Skid Row bum. A man accused of killing another wino over a stolen bottle of wine. A once proud man brought down to snapping and snarling in a gutter fight like a beast over a bone. A man who no longer cares or knows the difference between right and wrong. A man incapable of acting in a way which makes him subject to punishment. A man absolutely irresponsible and incompetent in the eyes of the law. And to find that man responsible for his actions would be cruel. Cruel and unusual punishment far beyond the limit of human mercy and the intent of legal justice. I beg you for mercy, and I beg you for justice for Henry Rockford.
Beautiful.
Did you see her?
Oh, yes. But I meant the summation.
I believe there is nothing further to add. The jury will now retire to the jury room to consider its verdict. Please pass the verdict to the clerk. There will be no relaxation of order in the court when the jury's verdict is read. I intend to make a statement following the announcement. The defendant will please rise.
The jury finds the defendant, Henry Rockford, was insane at the time the crime was committed.
I believe the jury rendered a just verdict based on the testimony and on defense counsel's contention that the accused is not capable of knowing right from wrong. That he is, in fact, incompetent in the eyes of the law. I am therefore remanding him to the state hospital for the criminally insane. The sheriff's deputy will take charge of the prisoner. This jury is dismissed with thanks. This court is now adjourned.
Officer, may I please have a few moments with my client before you take it? Well, Henry, congratulations. Thank God it worked out the way it did. Because I think you can be rehabilitated. When the hospital authorities believe you're capable of returning to normal life, well, you'll be a free man. Now, before they take you away, I'd like to have my answer.
What?
My answer, my fee. Don't you remember our deal?
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, then...
Well, I promised to give you the answer if you got me off. You didn't get me off. When you get me off, you get me out of that place, and you'll get your answer.
Mr. Nichols, Mr. Darren,
Mrs. Rockford.
Mrs. Lawton.
Oh, yes, of course.
How nice to see you looking so well and prosperous.
Well, thank you. From what I just overheard, I gathered that Henry made some sorts of arrangements with you to tell you the truth about the last time.
Yes, if I got him off, but he doesn't seem to think that I kept my part of the bargain.
Well, I do. I think it can be the beginning of a new life for him. And I'm very grateful to you. And because I am, I'm going to tell you the answer.
If you do, I'll be eternally grateful.
Well, it's all very simple, really. I'm the one who lied to you. What happened that night happened exactly as Henry said it did. He killed Carol Peterson. I happened to arrive just in time to see him drive away. I went in, and I found her like that, and decided to take the blame. So I put my fingerprints on the candlestick and did all the things that Henry claimed I did when he testified.
In other words, the testimony which he said was a complete and absolute lie.
Was the complete and absolute truth.
I see.
Well, now I really must go. My husband doesn't like to be kept waiting. Thank you very much. to both of you for all you've done for Henry.
Well, Walt, you get yourself a load of sleep tonight. After all these years, you finally got your answer.
You really think so?